let's talk about Infinite Doodles. Now, this is a brand new concept from Sizzix, and everything that you saw at the beginning was made using these two die sets, believe it or not. Now, a very wise man once said that imagination makes us infinite, and we're bringing the infinity to you. So let's have a look at what brought us to this point and explain the concept behind it. So we here at Sizzix, we have been using basic shapes to create pictures for years because we want to kickstart your imagination. We want people to look at our dies and think of alternate uses for them. Because the more ways you can use a die, the more value for money, the more versatility. But this is one that we did a long time ago. This is one from the vault. And you can see that this was made just using circles. So the body, for example, that was a circle, and then we used the same die to cut into it to create that shape. So circles of different sizes. You can see here where the circle has been cut out. You can see the ears which came from here. So that's just circles. And then if we take my old friend here, it's a bit tatty around the edges, but the concept, again, this is hearts. This is using a frameless heart set. You can see the nose, the face, the teeth, the tail, they're all using hearts. Now the ears, the hands, the carrot, the feet, and the body are the same hearts but cut in half. So we like to kickstart your imagination. We like to get you thinking about shapes in many different ways, using different techniques, different colors, and so on and so forth. That's what Infinite Doodles is all about. I'm going to talk to you about my thought processes behind this because I started life as a cartoonist. So I want to show you some sketches and how we get from there to characters, to food, to animals, to architecture, to so many things and beyond. So let me tell you a little bit about the way that I work as a cartoonist and how I put shapes together. And this is something that anybody can do with the Infinite Doodle dice. Now, let's have a look at this down here. You can see the foundational shapes, the large shapes here that make up, and this is obviously, this is Santa dashing through the snow. You can see he's animated, his hat's coming off. So now that is not easy. If you're drawing, you know, if you've never done anything like this before, that is quite a challenge. But with the Infinite Doodles, not so, and I will tell you why in a little while. But after that, the next stage is to add the details. So you can see the moustache, the eyes, the nose, the eyebrows, so on and so forth, his belt, the buckle, the trim on the hat, the bobble. Then after that, what I would do is I would pencil that in over the foundational drawing. So you could ink this in, you could use a brush, you could use a pen, whatever it is you prefer. And then finally, the last stage is to add color and a little bit of texture. So I wanted to relate that process to a die set. And this is how we do it. Let's take a look at those dies and how some of the pieces come together to create something like this. This is Infinite Doodles 1. You can see here, there's a lot of different shapes. Some of them, the smaller ones, are on one piece of steel. There is so much creative scope with that. And I'm going to bring in the cutout shapes. Now, you're probably looking at some of these and thinking, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do the other. There are so many possibilities with these. Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look at a couple of them. Now, this, for example, this is a shape that I use an awful lot. So if I put that down there, and let's bring another one in. So if I bring this and pop it to the side, now some of you might start seeing pine trees or mountains. What about, let's take this little shape here and pop that there. Now we're almost building a scene here. I'm going to there we are. Let's take this one. Now suddenly that's a curly tail, and if I bring this one in like so, that's a head. So it's starting to form. What started out as a scene, it's becoming a body. And if I reach over and bring in this spooky black cat, which we did for Halloween, you can see how these were all put together. Now let's take some of those away. Let's take some of those away and have a look at this one specifically. Oh, do you know what? When I put that over there, I put it on top of this circle. So straight away, we've got a party hat going on. And that was a happy accident. Now, let's stay with this theme before we go back to that. How about a sailing boat? There we are. Pop that under there. It could be, we could just use the triangles for the sails as well. You know, we could get another sail in there. Let's pop this one over here like that. And maybe, oh, life on the ocean waves. There you go. You could bring that in. How about maybe the setting sun in the background. So again, we're starting to make shapes. There's one little thing missing. One little thing missing, and that is a flag at the top of our ship, and that's just playing around with what we have in front of us. But I want to link back to this one, this shape here. We talk about foundational shapes. They are the larger shapes. This is where it all starts. Now, if we take a look at that shape, it could be, if I invert it, a teacup. Remember, there's the steam coming out. That's that one. That was a tail. This is the saucer. There you go. Another way of using this, it could be, that could be the body of an animal. How about a unicorn? So that's that shape again. And we can see that lovely detail there. And remember the bit that made the saucer, that now becomes the unicorn's face. And of course the horn is one of the triangles. Let's take a look now. This goes beautifully with our unicorn. So for this one, I've taken 3 similar shapes of different sizes, cut into it, created the clouds. There we go. There's a lovely pink rainbow. Now, at the beginning, we said, when we put these two together, we said, could look like pine trees, could look like mountains. How about something like that? So you can see that mountain in the background. There she blows. There it is. The triangles again. What was the sea is now snow or frost. You know, it's all going on. And that's just from that one shape. So I'm encouraging you now to look at these shapes and see the possibilities. And another thing, this texture, that comes from the Infinite Doodles 2 set. So that's the body of my dinosaur. Yeah. Going back to Halloween, how about the cauldron? There we are. And again, all the texture, all these little things coming from Infinite Doodles 2 as well. And staying on our spooky theme, how about this cute little witch? So the hair. The hair is one of those shapes, and we cut into it with some of the spiky dies. The cape, now look at that cape. If I take that, and I take this die, for example, and I cut across the bottom of that using the die. Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to actually take the die itself, and we'll place that across the bottom. What it does is it creates that detail at the bottom of the cape. So we're showing infinite possibilities here. And once you start to become familiar with these shapes, these things really do start to appear in front of your very eyes. Now, this shape, let's talk about where we were a second ago with that lovely illustration, which we brought to that point. Now, if I take him away, here is my Santa. There he is. And now we've gone through that process, you can start to see some of those shapes. So there is Santa's body. Okay, this one is Santa's head. Let's look at the trim around the bottom of the body. There it is. They're all starting to pop out at us now. Santa's hat. How about that? Let's bring one of these in. There we are. Because we have, of course, created a hat. I don't need to tell you where the trim from the hat comes from. Obviously, it's from this die, slightly cut down to size. And that's what you do. You start building up with these shapes. You take, let's take this one, which was just sort of hiding in plain sight. That's one of the legs right there. The arms, there's another one. There's a curved triangle hiding amongst all these shapes. You're gonna have to take me on trust with that one. So the mustache. We can see, you don't need me to tell you now because we've got to this point already. So the mustache is a couple of those, just snip down and put either side. So that's how we start to bring in these shapes and start to bring these little characters to life. So we've given a lot of love to Infinite Doodles 1, but what about Infinite Doodles 2? Where does that come into the equation? And you can see here the 4 dies. There is no blade on the outside of these, but it's all about the texture. It's all about the texture we can create. So if we take this one there, what are we seeing there? Now that could be water. And it's not just about those, it's about the bits that come out as well. So I'm going to show you those in a second. That could be wood. That could be a zebra. That could be some sort of wild animal as well. So we got that going on. And let's take a look at this one down here. How about snow, a snowy background, or maybe reptile skin, or something, you know, with dinosaurs and things like that, crocodiles. Then we've got these lovely zigzags. That in itself, that could be kind of a woody texture. And those zigzaggy bits that come out, they are so much fun to work with as well. This one here, you can see, again, that could be a giraffe pattern. That one there, or it could be stone or brickwork or some sort of architectural thing. Now, with those, what you can also do, and this shows them cut out. And the reason I'm showing you like this is because they could also be stencils. So if you like inking, if you like putting pastes through stencils, you can now create your own stencils using these Infinite Doodles 2 dies. So that's one way of using them. You can repeat them. You can come down here and you can put one back to back and create a full background like that. Or how about something like that, a nice snowy background. It could be stones, it could be a beach, it could be where the waves wash up. If this was done in whites and blues, for example, really cool texture. Or you can even put them side by side. So if we want to go something like that, again, that is screaming animal print, but you know what, it's just a really cool background, as are the zigzags. But I don't only like to use these as backgrounds or for creating texture like that. Here is what comes out. So this is just from 4 of those cuts. So you can see we've got all the zigzags, we've got all these bits. So if you want to create an ocean scene, you know, you can do that with these. You can get reflections in the water. They could be, and all these little circles, all the little circles that come out of this one, I tend to cut 2, one in black, one in white, and I use those for eyes, I use them for highlights for a lot of the characters. We'll have a look at that in a second. So it isn't just about the backgrounds, it's also about the bits that come out. Now let's just brush those to one side for a second. And I want to bring in some of our characters, some of our scenes. And you can see where those start to come together. So for example, there's our zebra. So so I would die cut the body from a piece like this, putting white and black together, take my die and die cut that. This here, or even the trunks of those palm trees, that's from this time. So again, contrasting colors. Well, not contrasting really, I mean it's 2 browns, but I would die cut that. I would take the die that creates that, which I think, if I'm not much mistaken, is this one. So I could die cut that and I would get that, for example. And oh, Look at that one down there. So again, that's that one, but cut out of the grays for the stone. If we look at the stones themselves, okay, remember this one that I said earlier, getting that texture. Also the texture that we have, you can see a giraffe, although that's two different, that's a different orange and a different yellow there. Also that stone there, the body of our lovely dinosaur, these pumpkins using the same one. The cauldron, you can see, is done using that, except in purples and lilacs. And these highlights are actually the die cuts that come out of there. So this is a really useful set. It's going to be great for backgrounds, but it's also going to be great for creating extra detail and having a lot of different extra pieces to decorate your die cuts. Now the next thing I want to show you, I did this for a bit of fun. We call these Infinite Doodles. Now, what if there's something we can't create? It can't be truly infinite. Well, if we can't create it, we can spell the word, because we've created an alphabet using those Infinite Doodle dies. And if we take a look here, you can see two words that I've written, and I chose these two words because obviously the colorways are very specific to the seasons, like Halloween, the grays, the oranges, the yellows. Christmas, we've got all those greens and reds, but you know what, we've thrown in some pinks, so that's quite contemporary. If I did this again, I would probably use different dies to create the shapes, because there really is a lot of scope. I could do the K differently, I could do the D differently. We could use different dies to create all of these letters, but this is another way of having fun with our Infinite Doodles. Oh, there we have it. Now, one thing, why the name Infinite Doodles? Well, infinite means you can do whatever you want. And doodle is something I think that we all do. We all at some point, whether you're on the telephone, when you're in a meeting and you've got your notepad and there's nothing to write, so you're just doodling something in the corner, we all do it. And when it comes to creating shapes, it's something that we're taught to do from an early age. Whether we're writing our letters or our numbers, that is making shapes. And that is the foundation of what we're doing here. And do you remember in school, or maybe when you were younger, you remember those felt shapes you used to have with a felt background? It's a great way for teaching kids how to make pictures, because you're not reliant on putting your pen in the right place and making a mark. So many people, when there's, and I've met kids, I've taught kids in a summer camp, I've taught them about cartooning, and they say, I can't do it. But when you teach them how to create the foundations and you take it from the ground up, they find that actually they can do it. They just need to be taught the right way. But with the shapes, you can move them around until you get them where you want them. So it's not about making that mark on the paper. And a lot of people do this kind of thing. I do personally. But they do it for relaxation, for mindfulness. You know, we've seen all the Sudoku books, the coloring books that have been everywhere of late. This is another way of doing that. Getting home, looking at spreadsheets all day, you get home and you just sit down with your Infinite Doodles and see what you can come up with. And on that subject, we want to see what you can come up with. There is a Sizzix hub for Infinite Doodles, so come along. There'll be lots of information about how to put these things together. There'll be lots of videos and animations showing some of this great content. And some of the things you saw at the beginning, we'll be showing you how to get from A to B and how to create that. But what is important is you guys, what you come up with. Share it with us. Please do. I love to steal your ideas. I mean, I love to see your ideas. So there'll be lots of content across all of our social media platforms. That's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and of course on the Sizzix hub. I can't wait to see what you come up with these dies. But thank you for joining me for today. I've been Pete, and I'll see you again soon.